In 1952, the Formula One World Championships was held differently from previous season. At the end of 1951, Alfa Romeo decided to withdraw from racing to focus its investment on series production. Because the World Championship lacked an adequate number of top-level competitors, the Fédération Internationale dell'Automobile decided to reserve the races for Formula 2 cars only, while confirming a season with 8 Grand Prix races as in the previous year. For the second consecutive year, the Monaco circuit was excluded from the sporting calendar, but the president of the Automobile Club de Monaco, the legendary Anton Noguès, who invented the checkered flag in 1929, did not lose heart and organized a Grand Prix nonetheless, not counting towards the Formula 2 championships, but reserved for sports cars. His idea was to race the cars on Saturday for qualifying, on Sunday the Prix de Monte Carlo for those up to 2 liters, and on Monday the Grand Prix de Monaco for those over 2 liters. A long sporty weekend, therefore, on the 3.45 km street circuit. Thanks to his contacts, several manufacturers as Aston Martin, Fraser-Nash, Jaguar, Jouett and Pegaso, as well as 10 racing teams and 22 private racing drivers registered for the competitions. Saturday practice sessions were unfortunately marred by the serious accident involving the Italian Luigi Fagioli, who, driving his Lancia Aurelia B20 Gran Turismo, hit the curb with his wheels as he exited the tunnel, crashing into a wall. He died in hospital 20 days later from his injuries. 22-liter cars were entered in the 62-lap race. Robert Manzon won in a Sica Gordini T15 Sport after 2 hours, 30 minutes and 7/10 at an average speed of 91.98 km per hour. Monday's race was essentially a battle between 2 large private Italian teams, which dominated the entire group of 25 competing cars. The Marzotto team from Valdagno, near Vicenza, with 2 Spider cars, and the Guastalla team from Milan with 3 Spider cars. Scuderia Marzotto had actually entered 3 Spider cars, but Giannino Marzotto did not take part in the race because shortly before the start, the water pump on his Ferrari 348 broke, and there was no time to replace it. It was a very tough race, with 3 competitors failing to show up in the starting line due to technical problems, 5 abandoning the race along the way, 5 retiring due to breakdowns, and 5 due to a dramatic accident in which all the cars pile up after a bend. In addition to the sporting aspect, the technical aspect was very important, as the first 5 cars to cross the finish line were all Ferrari 225 Sport. The Ferrari 225 Sport was built in 21 units, 6 of which were Berlinettas, all built by the Vignale Body Shop in Turin, except for 1 Spider built by the Turin Body Shop in Milan. The Spider consisted of a tubular chassis produced by Gilco of Milan, a Ferrari supplier, onto which the mechanical parts were mounted in Maranello before being delivered to the respective body shops. The 2.71-liter V12 engine with 210 horsepower, designed by engineer Aurelio Lampredi, was an evolution of the previous 2.56-liter V12 and followed the same layout. Twin shaft distribution with 2 valves per cylinder, dry sample lubrication, 3 carburetors and dual distributor ignition. At the end of 1951, the supply of touring bodies to Ferrari stopped due to a commercial disagreements. So Enzo Ferrari turned to Vignale, which was less strict about payment terms, because Alfredo Vignale had agreed to be paid at the end of the year, a significant detail for Ferrari, which was always struggling to close the accounts due to the enormous operating expenses of the Formula One team. use, the few touring bodies still installed on Ferrari cars were paid directly by the team. This was the case of the Spider del Race in the Grand Prix of Monaco, chassis number 0166ED, delivered in March 1952 to the Scuderia della Guastalla in Milan, whose president was Franco Cornacchia, the Ferrari dealer for Milan. While Turin always used the superleggera construction method, which I've already discussed in another video, Vignale had a completely different approach. The body of the 225 Sport Spiders were designed by Giovanni Michelotti, who abandoned the lines adopted before in favor of a body style more suited to the technical characteristics of sport cars. The V12 engine with 3 mid-cylinder carburetors did not allow for a very low waistline and required considerable airflow from cooling, as did the large drum brakes, which had always been a weak point of Ferrari sport cars. In consultation with Vignale, Michelotti designed the first 3 Spiders and the first 2 Berlinettas, maintaining a very similar front-end styling, characterized by a large vertical grille flanked by 2 round air intakes located under the headlights, while the rear end was adapted based on the different body type. This simplification allowed Vignale to build only 3 wooden masks on which to beat the aluminum sheets, to speeding up the production times. In practice, Spiders was built in 3 parts, the front, the rear and the side, to which the hood, the trunk and the doors were added. On Berlinetta, the roof, complete with pillars, was also welded. Until then, Sport Spiders were built by welding aluminum panels shaped as a panel beater onto a metal frame structure. The 3-part construction, however, allowed for the insertion of box reinforcement elements inside them, as well as the cross members behind the seats, which was necessary to stiffen the body of the Spider as they lacked the roof. The effectiveness of the rigidity of the Vignale bodies compared in racing to those of the other coach builders was confirmed to me by the Marzotto brothers during an interview I had, particularly in competition on dirty roads. According to qualifying, the starting line for the 3rd Monaco Grand Prix looked like this. On the front row was Antonio Stagnoli, driving an original and quirky 225 Sport Vignale with the number 90, the Talbot Lago T26 Grand Sport of Pierre Levegh, the Jaguar XK120C of Stirling Moss. On the second row were the 3rd Aston Martin DB3 of Reg Parnell and Lance Macklin and the Gordini T15 Sport of Robert Manzon, one of the favorites. On the 3rd row, Giovanni Bracco with a Ferrari 212 Touring, re-engineered with a 225 with the number 88. Louis Rosier with a Talbot Lago T26 Grand Sport and Pierre Boncompagni with a Ferrari 225 Sport Berlinetta with number 60. On the 4th row was Eugenio Castellotti with a 225 Sport Touring with the number 92 in the colors of the Guastalla team, alongside Vittorio Marzotto driving the 225 Sport Vignale with the number 94 and Peter Collins with the 3rd Aston Martin DB3. On the 5th row were Piero Carini for the Marzotto team in a Fontana-bodied 348 Ferrari with the number 96, Anthony Hume in an Allard G2X, and Jean Lucas in a 225 Sport Vignale Berlinetta with the number 58 for the Luigi Chinetti team. The other 3 rows featured Francesco Bonacorsi's Ferrari 166, re-engined with a 225 Sport number 86, and the 348 number 98 for the Ferrari team driven by André Simon. The much feared Pegaso 8-cylinder Berlinetta failed to show up for the start. Moss started in the lead and held off the pack, followed by Stagnoli, Boncompagni and Manzon. After 7 laps, Manzon was second and Stagnoli third. On lap 8, Bracco retired with brake problems. Castellotti set a new record, driving a 95.7 km per hour on lap 15. While Marzotto gained 3 positions, 2 Aston Martin pitted with engine problems. Marzotto closed in and took the lead on lap 21, passing Moss, and on lap 24 the unexpected happened. The last Aston Martin remaining in the race, the partners, had a broken engine while taking the Sainte-Devote curve. It skidded, swerved, and hit the hail bales, emitting a cloud of smoke, while an oil slick spread across the ground. Manzoni and Moss arrived, flying through the oil and landing on Parnell's cars. Carini arrived, noticed the incident, braked and spun twice, only to be hit by the Hume Hallards. Amid the general confusion, with the crowd fleeing, the marshal waving flags, and the police desperately trying to untangle the tangle of wreckage, all the remaining competitors slowed down in attempt to avoid being involved and continued a short distance apart. Parnell, Manzon, and Hume retired, while Moss was disqualified for restarting only after being pushed. Lap 30 saw 5 Ferraris in the lead, an unprecedented occurrence in the prancing horse brand history, although Carini was forced to retire due to a broken rear axle on his 340A. By lap 40, 5 Ferraris were still in the lead, battling it out: Castellotti, Marzotto, Stagnoli, Boncompagni, and Lucas. On lap 44, Marzotto took the lead, while Stagnoli's third was replaced in the pits by Clemente Biondetti, his partner in the team. With only 10 cars remaining, Castellotti lowered the lap record to 2.2.9 and retook the lead on lap 61. Marzotto didn't give up, and in an epic duel he regained the lead on lap 65, but then slipped to second on lap 67. On lap 71, Stagnoli regained the wheel after a pit stop for refueling and maintained third place. On lap 78, Castellotti pitted for refueling, but the mechanics lost time. On the following lap, Marzotto also stopped and, assisted by his brother Giannino, quickly refueled with the bare minimum needed to finish the race. He restarted with a 4-second advantage over Castellotti. With 10 laps to go, Marzotto remained in the lead, while Castellotti was close, followed by Stagnoli, who also set the all-time lap record, 1.56.4. With impeccable style, Marzotto avoided making mistakes in the tricky section of the course and crossed the finish line with a margin of just 0.25 of a second over Castellotti. The finishing order after 3 hours and 21 minutes of racing was Marzotto, Castellotti, Stagnoli, Lucas and Boncompagni. 5 Ferrari 225 Sports in the space of 3 seconds. Ironically, this was the first time a Ferrari car won the Monaco Grand Prix, and none of these 5 cars were even in the official racing team. The 225 Sports so proved to be a very reliable car on the tarmac, regardless of the body type of the manufacturer, well balanced, fast, precise in bends, and not particularly thirsty. And this aspect were all confirmed in practice. During the 1952 racing season, the chassis 0166ED ran 6 races, winning 3 times and placing twice. The chassis 0176ED ran 3 races, placing 3 times. The chassis 0164ED ran 8 races, winning 3 times and placing 4 times. Marzotto cars, chassis 0154ED, ran 7 races, winning 2 and placing 2. For his part, Vittorio Marzotto definitely retired from racing in 1955 after his wedding with Countess Rory Donada Le Rose and his election to the Italian Parliament. Today, chassis 01 54 ED is preserved in a private collection. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share this video.